Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Relatable Radio Hour with me, Dr. Green. Thank you so very much for joining. Tonight, we have a great topic and a great guest, and I will introduce him in just a second. But tonight, we're going to talk about the availability of being able to do a lot of different things, having a lot of talents. A lot of people wrestle with this, and I wrestle with it myself because you can get so caught up into doing the things that you love to do. Sometimes it's hard to decide which avenue to go and how to adequately, kind of align yourself to doing these different things. Tonight, we're actually going to speak to somebody who is a Renaissance man, if I could just call him that, because he does a lot of different things and he's doing some amazing things with his talents. And when we kind of just talked about, one of his superpowers, I'm going to call it that, the ability to do a lot of things came up a lot in our conversation. So I think you'll be able to grab a lot of nuggets from his wisdom. So I would like to introduce to you all tonight, Mr. Tim Duncan. Mr. Duncan, how are you doing, sir?
I'm great. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing great, doing great. We're glad that you were with us tonight. Really excited about this conversation. Kind of tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your title, and what's brought you here tonight.
Well, as far as I would say, I'm just a country boy from Daphne, Alabama. Um, then ended up at Alabama A&M University, where I obtained a marketing degree. Also went back and got an MBA. And I guess as far as the main reason why I'm here, as far as introducing my upcoming book, well, another book that I have is titled Naked. And wanted to talk to you about it and talk to your audience about it. Uh, and as far as just, pretty much spreading the word and having an open forum to basically bring a lot of different conversations to light.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to all of that. Now, you called yourself a country boy. Like I know that has a lot of levels, a lot of layers to that. From
Oh
Daphne,
yeah, oh yeah,
Daphne,
yeah,
Alabama.
yeah. Daphne, Alabama, the Gulf Coast. Uh, pretty much, if you can tell by just the background, I'm here at my horse stables right now, uh, with and this is where I call pretty much my place of peace. I do a lot of writing here. People don't realize it, but horses are therapy, and I've found a level of peace and understanding, and even clarity with through life, through some of the losses that I've had over the years. The pretty much, I would say, once I start to explain it to people, then they're just amazed at uh, how are you able to still thrive. But it all started in pretty much my grandfather in 1993. He passed away. He was older, but still unexpected. Then 94, my mother passed away. She was 45. And being my best friend, that was, I would say, almost catastrophic for me. But the words that would ring uh, really clear to me all the time was keep pushing. And regardless of whatever happens to you in life, just keep pushing. So, and then few years later, I ended up losing my twin brother. And then other family members, my grandmother and my aunt. Well, my aunt passed away. Her and my grandmother passed away exactly a week apart. So, and my grandmother was, I definitely say, a strong force in my life. Um, Probably one of the people that kept me grounded over the years, and gave me I say, the fortitude to finish, and even finishing school and pledging and all of that. So it's just, the thing about my life, when you reflect on it and you see how much you accomplished and also made it through. That's where I think for me, it gives me my fuel to go from day to day.
Mhm. That's a lot. There's a lot of learned uh, uh, lessons, I'm sure, from
Oh yeah,
just that alone.
oh yeah.
Uh, and you know, whenever you have family that is uh, lost at such a early age, that can be a lot that you learn at that time as well. Um, but as it speaks to your upbringing, you mentioned the barn setting and everything else. I feel like that is the type of learned lifestyle that you learn kind of at an early age. Is that something
Did I
that
grew up? Yeah, I would say I somebody would I guess say that I have kind of an old spirit to a
okay?
degree. I've always uh, I hung around people my age, but I was really drawn to older individuals. So even now, just like conversations, uh, I'm one of those that does not like small talk. Uh, and I've learned that you can learn something from a little bitty baby. So,
Hmm.
and being open minded, uh, learning new perspectives and things of that nature, and always willing to learn, even learn about myself, um, and admit uh, some of my own faults, um, and accept those things. Because if I accept them, and if nobody else does, I'm good. You know.
Hmm.
So, but the my upbringing in itself, I had a it was he was Uncle Rickard, and with Daphne, Alabama. If somebody did the research, they'll find out that Daphne, Alabama is they call it the Jubilee City. So, and then you have Jubilees. They only happen, and most of the time, you mentioned Jubilee. Most people think it's a party.
Yeah, that's what I went to
So,
immediately.
but it's actually, if you look it up, it's a national phenomenon that happens in two places in the world. It's in Japan and in Daphne, Alabama.
Hmm.
All of the sea life comes to shore, and you just go and collect. There's nothing wrong. Is they said it's a lack of oxygen in the water, and it brings everything to the shore. So we would, and I had an uncle that could predict them. He was like, "Hey, it's going to be a jubilee tonight," and he'll wake his sons up, and they'll have like ice picks or whatever that they made with put nails in the ends of brooms, broom handles,
Hmm.
whatever,
Hmm.
and have croaker sacks. And then you go down, we call it the Mayday. You go to the Mayday and you're picking up, I mean, you got blue crabs, you got fish, which is mullet, sheephead, all these kind of fish or whatever that come to the shore, shrimp. You got everything that was in that water, it comes to the shore. And it's fresh. There's nothing wrong with it. So
Hmm.
we were, growing up, I ate everything fresh. And one of the things I learned also from even my grandmother is being a giver. You get your blessings. She would always, her and my grandfather, they had a store, and my grandfather was like, "Hey, everybody got to pay, no matter what it was." But my grandmother, with the kids coming there, she was like, "Baby, go ahead and get it, get what you want." While he in the back.
Right.
So, but she was a giver, and with that, even as I was growing up, I didn't eat a lot of canned goods. Everything was fresh. Every morning we would pretty much wake up. She would have something on the porch. Somebody would bring something by, not wanting recognition, but they would just drop it off. Whether it was some fresh corn, bushel of corn, greens, fish, a thing of crabs, fresh crabs, because she would make gumbo. And the thing, even with her gumbo, she would make it. She's the only person I've ever known that would do. She would not make gumbo if she did not have fresh crabs, live fresh crabs,
Wow.
and she would kill them in the sink with hot water, or whatever, and clean them at
Hmm.
the same time, and then throw them over in the pot. So, and when I tell you she would make this big pot of gumbo that would feed the community, everybody that wanted to come eat, they could. And like I said, just growing up, so even like now, the gourmet meals of fish and grits, shrimp and grits, and all of that, dude, I was eating that stuff so long ago. I'm like, really? I'm not getting ready to pay $50 to eat something that I know how to do myself, and I can do
Yeah.
it at one time. I go
Yeah.
fishing and do the same thing. So, but growing up, my grandfather taught us work ethic. Um, we didn't get new bikes or anything of that nature. We could have. My grandfather told my mother, "Don't buy them boys no bikes. They don't need bikes." He said, "I got plenty of parts for them to build a bike." And that's what we did. We built our own bikes. So you learn ingenuity, critical thinking. You learn all these things or whatever along the way. And I, even with the horses part, I grew up with one. I can't recall his name, but now that I have my own, I realize the importance of it. And then playing sports all my life, so baseball and football, um, it was just one of those things to where you understood the importance of teamwork, also individual work, because a lot of stuff you had to do sometimes on your own in order to become better. You when you get together with the team, then you might be a step above just because you spend an extra hour doing some extra work.
Mhm.
So, and that's one of the things that I've always done. I've always prided myself on kind of going the extra mile at times.
Well, it's paid off for you. And the fact that you have just named off, I think, at least six things that you already have been doing as like a young kid, that says a lot. You built bikes, you were a chef, you learned how to, make your grandmother's recipes, you were
Oh
an
yeah.
athlete, you did the stuff with horses. That's a lot already. Like that's a lot of stuff that you already kind of came equipped to learning with. So I'm wondering when you were a kid, what were some of those things that you, as you got older, you were like, I think I want to do this, or I want to do more of this?
Well, one of I guess the thing that really stands out is the poetry part of it, writing
Hmm.
poetry. I started writing poetry, I think about 15, 16, and it was, of course, it was to impress a girl or whatever at the time. Um, but as I got older, I found that that was my way of expression. That was my journaling. Even when I published my first book, Through the Eyes of the Soul, which is also available on Amazon, and also getting ready to do a revision of that one to a trilogy. Um, but going back to that, I think not too long ago, I had one of the first poems that I had ever written. It was kind of one of the roses red, bottoms of blue type thing, whatever. But I've even over the years, I've seen my own growth, even in poetry, as far as the level of expression, the way that the words come together. Because I mean, I write a piece in about 10 or 15 minutes. Somebody will give me a word, and people ask me, say, "What's your motivation?" I say it comes from a number of different things. It could be from a conversation heard, a conversation had, an experience of my own, an experience from someone else, uh, or just watching. I could be watching a TV show or something like that, or listen to some music. Now, I am a music lover. I love to dance. I love to do all the above. So, um, and it's just a matter of having a good time. And whatever I can do to put a smile on my face, if I can put a smile on my own face, I know I can put one on somebody else's.
Hmm.
So, and then you realize, and I realized a long time ago that life is short, and and our time is precious. So I try not to waste it too much. Um, Even though I'm considered to be sometimes an overthinker, but certain things stay with me, and then other
Hmm.
things just kind of move on. Uh,
Hmm.
but as when you talk about some of those things that I've learned, even my father didn't realize that it would have the impact that it has on me. But I also do woodwork. I make custom ashtrays. Matter of fact, just last night I worked on a couple of pieces, and I made a I'll share with you whenever you get a chance. I made a small, almost like a coffee table, but it's a signature piece. I consider it to be a signature piece, and it came out beautiful, um, at least to me anyway. But it's a one of a kind piece, um, and been doing that. I did custom closets. Uh, Also did custom crown molding. So, the I don't know when people ask me where it comes from. My dad does construction, so he was a renovations coordinator for the Mobile County School Board. So with that, I just used to. We would go with him on jobs at times or whatever. So kind of being a laborer, but at the same time, I seen what he did, and those things kind of stuck with me. So it's not too much that if I can YouTube it and find out how to do it, or I'll call my
Hmm.
dad and ask him a question about it. He's like, "Oh, well, yeah, do this, this, and this." He'll walk me through it, and
Yeah.
that's all it takes is that one time, and then I'm good to go. And then if it's something I can't do, which I don't mess with electrical or anything of that nature, but for the most part, it's not too much that I'm not willing to do. As
Hmm.
far as getting my hands dirty or whatever, I wear a suit every day, but I don't mind getting my hands dirty as well, especially come out to the barn every day. You having to do a whole lot out here, so that's just a part of it.
Yeah, I can imagine that barn. You have to just kind of be ready for anything. I want to go back to something that you just said, but I also want to stay right there with the barn stuff that you just brought up. Uh, Talk to us about like how you got into that. With the agriculture part of it, and being in that space. Because I've never ridden a horse. I wouldn't know anything about it. I'm not sure if my listeners have as well, but I haven't. So kind of talk to us about, how you got into that and how that is even just maintaining it because it's a great backdrop. I can see it. It looks pretty dope, but I've never even seen one before, like in person. So,
Well, I mean, it started out. A friend of mine called me. He said, "Hey, man, I got I got this guy that wants to sell two horses." I was like, "Okay." He said, two horses for $500. He said one of them is a young horse and the other one is a little bit older, but the older one he's a retired grand champion. I was like, okay. So we got him, and I think probably that first week I went and got a saddle, went and got all the above. This is what probably about maybe have to be maybe 15 years ago. So when I got a saddle, all that. So I was up, he said, "Hey, okay, now we got to ride." I said, "Okay, no problem." And we were actually riding on the street. So we were riding in the city basically in the street or whatever. So we were coming back from riding, and Drex is his name, my horse. He wanted to go back to the barn, and we were on cement,
mm,
and everybody else was going straight ahead to this field, and they were going to run through the field and then come back to the barn. So I was like, okay. Drex said, "I want to go to the barn." So he turned to go to the barn, and I'm thinking we're going forward. So his feet slipped from under him, and just so happened, and they tell you as far as riding, and I don't know if it was natural instinct for me or not, but my foot came out of the stirrup, period. But if my foot had stayed in, if I had my foot completely in, because they always tell you to ride on the balls of your feet, which is true because you can get your feet out fairly quickly if something happens or whatever, especially if the
yeah.
horse falls over or whatever. Because if he had fallen over and my foot was still connected, he would have pretty much broke my fibula, and
Oh,
it could have been life threatening because it could have actually cut an artery or something. So,
oh.
I could have bled to death right then and there. But I fell off of him. He fell down. He got right back up. I did too. And then I was walking him, and the guy was like, "Hey, Tim, get your butt back on that horse." I was like, "No, I'm gonna walk him." No, get back on him. Because in your mind, you have to realize, and I thought about it later on, is the fact that if I hadn't have gotten back on him, I would never have gotten on him again. Because it would have
Oh,
been a
you have
level of
been trained
fear.
to kind of think that
Yeah.
that was okay.
Yeah. I would have been pretty much, I would have been traumatized.
Hmm.
But after that, I've been on trail rides, all the above. I do lessons, teach kids how to ride, to be safe and all that. Um, and like I said, just for me, it's the therapeutic part of it. For like my horse, the relationship I have with him, when I pull up to the barn, he automatically comes to the fence. I don't care where he is in the pasture. He comes to the barn. Sometimes he might be in the very back of the pasture. All I got to do is just blow my horn, and he comes on. Then I'll let him out. He doesn't run off or anything. He comes straight
Wow.
into the barn and goes straight into the stall. And most people are amazed. They're like, "How in the world?"
Mm-hmm.
He knows where his home is. He goes
Wow.
straight in, does what he has to do, and then once he gets done eating, he'll stick his head out, like, "Hey, I'm ready to go back out," and then that's it. You know, yeah, because I like I said, I spend a lot of time out here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like I said, it even in just the darkness at times. You know, somebody might, they might be like, "Oh man, it's too dark out there." No, I'm like, as long as the stars in the sky, I'm good. And then the moon's in the sky, it's just like a bright light shining on you anyway. But you hear everything, they say there's, some what is that, bobcats or something or whatever around, but I hadn't seen any. You hear wolves in or coyotes or whatever in the backdrop at times, but that's about it. So, but other than that,
Wow.
I mean, you definitely see deer all the time. So,
So is it a sense of routine for you to maintain that that type of barn situation? Because I would imagine like it's a lot to that. Like it's not simple. There's probably like
no,
a lot of things.
well, to be honest with you, I guess for the average person it is, but because I
Right.
move so much. And people say, "How in the world do you maintain your girlish figure?" I say, "That's how." So, you carrying 50-pound bags of feed. You
Yeah.
the water buckets themselves weigh close to something like that, or whatever the case may be, and then just handling the horses themselves. You can't be gentle with them a lot of times or whatever, because if you do, then they'll take advantage of you. So,
Mm.
especially if you show fear, yeah, you mess up then.
Mm-hmm.
So, even with kids, whatever that come out, uh, and a lot of times I've dealt with adolescent boys at times with sometimes they'll have like ADHD, and the moms will bring them out. They're like, "Hey, can you work with them?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then I say, "Okay, well, hey," and they only thing they want to do is ride. I said, "Nope, but you
Mm-hmm.
got to start with the basics," and that's like cleaning the stalls, or most people would say mucking the stalls and things of that nature. But I say, you clean the stall, then you get to know the horse. I say, and then we'll start to ride. I say, but the ultimate key is for you to do all that is for you to get good grades and
Mm-hmm.
good behavior.
Right.
So every time they come for a lesson or something, first question I ask, how'd you do in school?
Right.
Oh, I did okay. I did okay. Okay. When you say okay, let me ask your mom how you did.
Mm-hmm.
Then next thing you know, no, oh, so you said okay. Okay is not good. So I guess we won't be riding today. We'll just be cleaning stalls again.
Mm.
Oh, Coach Tim, we really? I'm like, yep. I'm like, you can be mad all you want to. Then
Yeah.
the mom tell me, hey, I'm so glad whatever you did with that hour with him, all he wanted to do was come home, eat, and go to sleep. Then normally
Wow.
he'll be up all night playing video games, this and that and other. Just want to go straight to sleep.
Yeah. It's
Then,
more
but at
than a
the same
notion,
time,
I'm
they
sure.
talk. The moms be like, "Hey, my son talks about you all the time." I'm like, "Hey, as far as discipline wise, we all want some sort of role model close to us to look up to.
Mm.
You don't have to look up to any stars or anything. It's best, if you can have somebody close to you. And that's one of the things I think I've been blessed with is to have family members that I've always looked up to as far as role models. Um, that's the reason why I play as my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, uh, uh, was because of family members. Um, I seen the way that they moved and everything else or whatever, and then um, you know, basically pretty much going the same road as far as becoming a Mason, and then the fraternity. Um, then just the college part of it and the education part. My family is really big on that. Um, get your own piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Get your
So
own piece of
important.
paper. Yeah.
So important. I'm glad you talked about that because that's where I was going to go next because you've talked to us a lot about your upbringing and how you've kind of learned so many things. I would imagine when you did get to college and you kind of tapped into that space, that probably brought on a whole new multitude of things that you were immersed in. So kind of talk to us a little bit about how that was for you coming from, your home and then going to college at Alabama and A&M, Alabama A&M.
Well, well, the I guess for me it was different due to the fact that I I went to pretty much if you want to bring race into it a little bit, pretty much predominantly white school, and then coming to HBCU, I'm like, wait a minute,
Mm,
all of my people,
mm-hmm.
this is Chocolate City. So, uh, I mean, just I think I went back home one time my freshman year. After that, I never went back home
Oh
for summers
wow.
or anything. I just went back to visit briefly for a weekend or whatever the case may be. And my mom always told me, she said, baby, she said, you always love to go. She said, every summer you were going somewhere. She said, and then I knew when you got to college, you weren't coming back. But one of the things that happened to me, I think it was my sophomore going into my junior year. That's when my mother passed, and it was I was actually basically going through the process of the fraternity at the time, uh, and the support of my brothers at the time, which definitely helped tremendously, which gave me a new appreciation even for them, for the fraternity, for uh, and my family. Period. But during that time, I would say I was kind of a mediocre student. My mother used to always tell me, even in high school, she was like, "Baby, if you just try," she
Mhm.
said, you just do the bare minimum a lot of times, and you still get by." She said, "But if you just tried, you probably could make straight A's." I'm like, "Yeah, I probably could," because I would study sometimes, uh, maybe the night before for a test, and then I'll still pass. And then, but the semester that she passed, I had I had straight A's that semester. How it happened, I do not know, but
Mm,
I did. I had straight A's. It was amazing to me. So, but it's just and then the college experience in itself taught me so much. Meeting new people from pretty much all over, from you know up north, California, the Carolinas, everywhere. So, you build this big family of people just like now when you come home. Just recently we had homecoming. So and seeing everyone, it was such a pleasure to see, your classmates doing well.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, that is great. That's great to see. Yeah, that college life is one of those types of experiences that you never forget, and you really do meet some amazing people, and learn a lot of stuff about yourself too. I'm sure that was something that you probably learned some as well, because we learn a
Oh
lot
yeah.
about ourselves during that time.
Oh yeah.
Um, so when you were in school, you said I think you got your bachelor's in was it marketing?
Marketing, yes. Hmm.
So, what type of career were you kind of focused on at that point? When you were kind of working on this degree.
Well, I mean, I went into retail for uh about 3 years. Then I switched to banking after that, and I stayed in banking for about probably about 15 years prior to going like currently now working with the Department of Defense. So and I work in logistics right now, or whatever, because I actually I guess going back to school to get my MBA, is with a concentration in logistics. So it kind of worked out really well.
Hmm
And then that uh, that job in itself or whatever afforded me quite a few different opportunities. One opportunity is to travel the world,
Mm,
and also um, basically acting as uh, I say a conduit as a protector for the United States and our allies. Um, so you know, learned a lot, still learned a lot. I really can't speak on a lot of that I do,
of course.
uh, but it's definitely a joy. I've been to Japan, I've been to Paris, I've been quite a few different places or whatever, and just those experiences themselves have opened my eyes. I would say culturally, and then to be open minded about life in itself. And even when you talk about say relationships and your level of thinking and all of that, it opens up doors there as well. Because if you're open minded, it's different perspectives. You know,
Hmm.
I'm willing to listen to anybody. But I'll ask for specifics as well. As far as if you just make a general statement, it probably doesn't go too far with me because I'm one of those inquisitive type people. So I kind of want to get to the nuts and bolts of it or whatever to figure out exactly what your perspective is. You
Hmm.
can't really just make a general statement to me and just think it's okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so when you say that, and I think I shared this with you before, I mean, I think that artistic vision is clear to me. Like I can see the artistry and everything that you just kind of spoke to. I mean, from your upbringing to everything that amassed from that point, from your way of thinking, from traveling, you've been exposed to different things. You're able to
Yeah.
talk to people. That's kind of what an artist is capable of doing. And when you can create something, you talked about your woodwork, you talked about, all the different, capacities that you work with your hands and the poetry and poems. All that is like screaming artists, things that
Oh
you
yeah.
are like totally attuned to doing. Um, so how have you been able to kind of master all of the inner workings and the inner talents that you have? Because as I said at the beginning of the show, that's difficult. That's a hard thing to do. That can bring some people to insanity because they have so many things that they're good at that it's hard to decide on that one thing to do at that one time, or decide, hey, I'm just going to do everything and just see what happens. So how have you been able to manage that?
Well, for a long time, I would say it was very confusing,
Mm.
um, because I was reluctant to start. Then, if I start, I couldn't finish. Um, but understanding that uh, starting and finishing are two different things in itself. Um,
Oh yeah.
but it's okay to start and not finish because you're still working towards something. So even with my woodwork, I'll get started. If I start a project, I try my best. I'll stay up all night just to finish something, just to see the end product. Now I will do that. Um, or it was at times a fear of success.
Mm.
Fear of success in the sense that I can become very good at this. Just like even with my poetry, I think that I'm a great writer. Um, and then for people that read my pieces or get a chance to experience it, um, they think the same. So um, I don't. I try not to mimic anybody else. Whatever. I go with what I know and what feels good to me, and I stick
Hmm.
to that. But uh, it's just a matter of getting started and really focusing. Yeah, really
Hmm.
focusing.
You said something really important in that it's a difference in starting and finishing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to start and it's good to start, but it's just that determination to finish. Like it's difficult for some people. Let's just be honest. I mean, you can start something. I start books all the time. but it's books that I just have not finished reading for whatever reason, you know what I mean? But it's just that general focus that it takes to finally see it through that kind of seals the deal with everything. And again, in talking about your poetry, is that something that comes easily to kind of finish and kind of see it through, from the very start to the end?
Oh yeah. So this is one of I'd say a recent piece that I did. Recent piece that I wrote. It's titled "Take Me Back." Take me back not to the first time, but the last time, for we rhymed without reason, and regardless of the season, we've always been us. Take me back to your smile, your gentle touch, your glowing, your glowing complexion, for to stare at you, to long your caress, causes me to look away and look at my own reflection as I see yours in mine. Take me back to your tone, even when direct. You make me rearrange my thoughts to listen instead of respond. I've even responded in silence for my need to be right and think about my words, my tone, and how they may affect your existence. So I'd rather listen with clarity and hear your heart. Take me back to your truth in words, for they speak with actions and even with distractions and many moving pieces. You still show me your truth, for to me, and you show me how much of a value add I am to your everyday. Just as you've told me, it takes a special person, not a version that is temporary, but a permanent fixture in your life and in the life you lead. That's it.
Wow. So I think we talked about this too. Uh, People always want to ask, like, where did you get that from? Like, what made you want to write that? And all that stuff. So I'm gonna be that person and ask, because I know somebody's probably thinking, what was the motivation behind that poem?
Well, I mean, I guess for me, it's a matter of at times I think about my own needs, wants, desires, uh, whether it's fantasy, reality, or whatever that is. So uh, my pieces a lot of times are all of those different things coming together as
Mm-hmm.
just like take me back to that time. You think about a relationship or something.
Mm-hmm.
Take me back to the time we first met, uh,
Mm-hmm.
where I felt the butterflies.
That
And as
newness.
long as I can keep going back,
Right.
I can stay in the present as well
Yeah.
and stay grounded in, say, in a relationship. You can stay grounded in us,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and you can be satisfied. So and it's kind of like you think about a relationship at times when we have so many outside forces that kind of uh, come into view a lot of times. But if we can somehow get in our own bubbles at times, we at times need to get in bubbles by ourselves. And I think just like here at the barn, I get into my own bubble. I'm a I think someone said to me, it might have been today or a couple of days ago, that I'm a popular loner.
Hmm.
So I was like, popular loner?
That's
I'm like,
that,
hmm.
yeah.
Well, I know a lot of people know me,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I
Mm-hmm.
can be alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I can be just as good because
Mm-hmm.
like with people see me on TikTok dancing, having a good time, or whatever stuff like that. I even had an associate, a friend, whatever you want to call it, tell me one time, "Man, you look crazy out there dancing by yourself." I'm like, "Really?" That's your opinion, not mine.
Right. Yeah.
I feel good. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish you could dance,
Right. Yeah.
but hey, that ain't got nothing to do with me. I mean, that's
Right. Right. Right.
I'm having a great time by myself.
Yeah. See, that's the ability to freely express yourself as an artist. That's still just you being able to be yourself and to express yourself the way that you do. That's their artistry. They don't, whoever said that obviously does not understand that, and they're probably not comfortable in their own skin. But
Yeah.
you're already, I mean, that you're way past that.
Oh, I mean,
You know,
it doesn't matter if I hear some music that I like, I'm going to dance.
you dancing. That's
And I think it was some years ago. I heard it was a statement made, well, cliche statement, whatever you want to call it. But the guy said, uh, dance like nobody's watching.
right. Yeah. I've heard that saying.
And
Hmm.
that's the thing that I try to do. I mean, if I can't be happy with me, who can I be happy with?
Right.
And if I can't enjoy my own company, because I mean, if I can laugh out loud at myself,
Hmm.
I'll just put it that way. I've done it plenty of times. I laugh at myself. I'm like, dude, you got a serious problem. I'm like, probably, but whatever.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I say I am who I am.
I
So
relate to all of that. I think I want to say all of that, especially the you say popular loner.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I can get that. I can be alone and be perfectly fine. There's also a lot of parallels, and I guess really it's really the same in writing poetry and writing song lyrics. Because when you said that, I thought about songs that
yeah,
I've written as a singer. Um, and it doesn't even have to be something that you've experienced. It could be something that you've observed in others or, things that you've thought about. And, when you're able to put it to pen and pencil or pen and paper, I should say,
yeah, pen and paper, yeah.
it's just crazy what you can come up with, just from that observation or those thoughts or things that happened in the past. Uh, it's a dope process when you really are able to do that and to do it freely and just allow for it to just to be something, And then like you said earlier, if you like it, somebody else would probably like it as well. So
Oh, they will, they
yeah,
will,
yeah.
they will. And it's just like even with so I try to a positive mindset. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep it because I mean it's so much that you can be. I'm a realist at times as well, but um, I try to be optimistic about things, regardless of what it is. Um, I've had enough negativity that I probably could be pessimistic and I could be this very negative person, but I just choose not to be because that's just not who I am. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'll much rather, laughter for me is like therapy to the soul, just
Mm-hmm.
like music is. Um, I'll put on some music and I'll just, I can ride for hours. Or, I come out here to the barn and just put on some music, whether it's me giving Drex a bath or whatever, brushing him down, or just me dancing, period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I feel it, I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter whether I'm by myself or in a crowd, I'm gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
So, and I can have a good time by myself.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And like you said, I mean, we've all experienced a lot of just hurt and pain, and it's like you don't want to focus on that. You want to focus on the good in life as much as possible because there's so much negativity out here, and you don't want to put your whole
Yeah, I
thought
mean,
process
life
on
is
that.
precious. Life is
Yeah,
precious
it
in
is.
itself.
It is.
And I'm one of those that can attest to it. Some years back when I was going for grief counseling, I went to this one counselor, uh, and I told her about all of my losses. She started crying,
Wow.
and she told me, she said, "I can't help you." I said, "Whoa." She said, "I can't help you." So I had to go to someone else or whatever and start to deal with it. I've had those bouts with, I wouldn't say depression, but um, just really some dark moments
Mm-hmm.
um, to where I, kind of felt almost like the abandonment portion, uh, whether it was in life, in relationships, things of that nature, whatever. So I'm one of those that holds relationships, whether friendships, whatever the case may be. I hold those to be very precious,
Yeah.
and I don't take them for granted. So, that, and a lot of times that's the reason why I kind of stay to myself as well, or consider to be alone because I really don't want to get close to anybody. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because, that as far as, you talk about disappointments. I don't want, because at one point in time, I was like, my mother disappointed me because she left me. My brother disappointed me because she left me. My grandmother, not so much because of her age. She had lived her life, and it was a blessing that she lived to be 92. So I was grateful for that, and then she was still in her right mind when she passed. Um, but my mother being so young, even with before I turned 45, right that the year before I turned 45, I said I'll probably end up leaving here too at the same age.
Hmm.
And I think the night before I turned 45, I don't think I went to sleep because I was scared.
Mm.
I had put that, I almost put that in my
Mm-hmm.
head that,
Yeah.
hey, something's going to happen to me. So, but uh, I'll just say God works in mysterious ways. And, you know, I, I've been blessed beyond belief, um, to still be, when I tell my story a lot of times, uh, to people close to me, I just don't tell it just to be telling it. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's like, wait a minute, how are you functioning?
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to, you still got this strong faith. You still got, this optimistic attitude. Like, yeah. I'm like, that's being a loving individual, a caring individual, um, a sensitive man. Um, you know, I'm all of those things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've been criticized for my so-called sensitivity, but at the same time, when a person never receives that again from they only get, you get it from me, and then you go outside,
Mm-hmm.
then it no longer exists. You're like, wait,
Right.
I like that sensitivity. I
Yeah.
like that expressiveness. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying, just like we talk, I'm not saying that most women don't understand that men are expressive as well. It's not the and it's the fact that we're also full of emotion. It's just the fact that we want a safe place to be
Mm-hmm.
that emotional being in and be
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when it's thrown back in our faces and things of that nature, and it's only going to happen once or twice.
Yeah.
It's
Because
only
yeah,
going to
you're
happen
not gonna
once or
do it
twice. But
again.
when it's thrown back in your face, then uh, sometimes women don't realize that they make it hard for anybody else because then we safeguard ourselves after that. We kind of put up a wall. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I'm not letting this wall down. I'll
Yeah.
be a little bit, a little bit vulnerable with you, but not all the way.
Yeah.
But if we can figure out a way to really break down that wall and to be fully vulnerable with someone and transparent, I think that it's freeing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very freeing thing
Yeah. It
to
is.
be in that place.
It is.
But you have to feel safe.
Right.
And I think that men don't talk about it enough, and you don't hear it enough as far as talking about vulnerability, talking about safety. That we want those same things, all
Mm.
the things that women want, we want too.
Yeah. Yep.
Just like
Yep.
a woman wants to be, as far as when you talk about affection, we want it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I even myself, whatever, even thinking about uh, the word intimacy. Um, at first, you relate it to, say, a sexual act, but it's not that. It's way deeper than that. It has nothing to do with sex in
Mhm.
itself, period. Um, it's a matter of being vulnerable and open and
Mhm.
pretty much transparent.
Yep.
Or the title of my book, it's about being naked and not really taking not and you're not taking off one layer
Right.
of clothing.
Right. That vulnerability, that
Yeah,
place of just being completely transparent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, naked. I mean, how many of us can say that we've been naked at one point or another? And then the whole thing about it, I think that when the older that we get, we should know, say what we want, but for the most part, I think a lot of us are still trying to figure it out.
Oh yeah.
And then some of us don't know it all
Hmm.
because we don't want to figure it out. Because we're just like, man, I'm setting my ways. I'm not changing.
Hmm.
And I'm not trying to do all that lovey-dovey stuff and this and that and other. I'm like, man. And I think I heard a young guy say that he said, if you can't be um, vulnerable and show your feelings, especially for a man with the woman you with, or be soft or whatever, who can you be that way with?
Hmm.
And I mean, it made a whole lot of sense. And I was like,
Good
oh,
point. It's a really good point. Really,
yeah,
really good.
and I didn't think that uh even for myself that I thought the way that I thought of for a long time was kind of weird. Um, when you think about a man being emotional, expressive, all of those things, um, it's kind of uncommon, but I guess men are that way, but we are that way probably say behind closed doors. But not publicly.
Not
Uh,
outwardly. Yeah.
Yeah, and but I think that if we were more expressive about it, to let it be known that it's okay, because you can't be hard all the time.
Right.
I don't want to be hard all the time. Period. I'm like it's hard enough out there in the world. Then if I got to come home and be hard too, oh man, woo, that's wow,
It's
no,
too
no,
much.
no.
Yeah, it's too
No,
heavy.
that's
Way
gonna
too
drive me
heavy.
to drink, do something. I mean, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. You
Yeah.
can't do
Yeah. Yeah. So I think you touched it on a little bit, but I did want to ask, as far as your books, what should people expect from what you're doing and what you're trying to do? You said you mentioned the book you already have and creating a trilogy.
it.
What should
Yes.
people expect from these projects that you're doing?
Well, the as far as the my existing book turned into a trilogy, so it will be through the eyes of the soul, pain; through the eyes of the soul, love; and through the eyes of the soul, foreplay. So you can just imagine, put all those together or whatever. So it's the experiences of me over a very long period of time. Um, I think I got pieces that go back to what, 91, 92, some, and I think some go back to the 80s or whatever. So but it's just the evolution of me, then also the the expressive side of me, and in hopes that my words will touch, say, someone else, another man, to say, hey man, you did a great job. Hey, this piece right here is me. And
Hmm.
I want to share it with my significant other to uh to say, hey babe, I don't write poetry, but I found a piece that expresses everything that I need to say.
Hmm.
And and the parts that it doesn't, we can talk about.
Hmm.
And then so Naked is uh that book of, say, vulnerability. the me pretty much, whether it's fantasizing about it, the reality of it, whatever the case may be, those things of being naked and vulnerable, the emotional side, the expressive side, really digging down a little bit deeper than I probably have ever before. Um, because even some of the pieces, I'm like, oh, I read it, I'm like, oh my goodness, that was a he had some good takeaway moments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even I have a buddy of mine. We get together probably about once a month, and we'll go play pool, and we'll have some really deep, intimate conversations that most women would love to hear, because you're hearing a male's perspective, whether it's on life, relationships, whatever the case may be, and it's and he we take even because I'm the type of person, if I'm talking to someone and we're having a really good conversation, I'm like, say what you just said again. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, because I need to write that down,
Right.
and I'll write it down or whatever. I'm like, okay, and then I'll take it back, kind of read it later on that night or the next day, and I'm like, man, that was really good. There's certain things that people say that I'm like, oh, that was, that's why I say the different perspectives, because I never have the mindset that someone cannot change. You might not be able to change my perspective. You can definitely add to it. Or I can see another point of view to where I say, yeah, I can understand that. I can definitely understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like I said, never being too closed-minded to anything.
Yeah.
Um, and just being kind of receptive to some of the things that life has to offer, really.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's, like I said, I don't do small talk too much. Um, but it's those conversations with, regardless of how brief or long they are, um, just having some takeaways. Because if I got takeaways, somebody I can talk to all the time. I'm like, hey man, I would love to continue this conversation another time. And pretty much anywhere I go, kind of the same thing. Just want to hear people's different their takes on it,
Yeah.
different opinions. And I guess that's the marketing side coming out to where
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
uh, it's almost like doing a survey at times. It's like,
Yeah.
what do you think about this? And they're like,
Yep. That's
oh, I
exactly
don't,
what it is.
this and that and the other. I'm like, but do you have an opinion? Is it
Right.
your opinion, or is
Right.
it just something from some news outlet? I'm like,
Right.
something you read, but do you have anything of substance to go with it that you can say, this is how it affected me and I applied it? And just like for me, I think over the years, and what I really had a problem with was I understood concepts and ideas. It was the application of that I had a problem with.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but once I started to apply some of those things, it was like, this is life changing, and it don't take much. It
Mm-hmm.
does not take much. I mean, progress is progress, regardless of how you look at it. And even if a slight step forward is still a step forward.
That's right. That's exactly right. That kind of takes me to a question that I wanted to ask you in particular with this topic that we've been talking about tonight, just, kind of having all these talents and, kind of knowing how to use them. And you've been using all of yours in various ways. But if
Hmm.
you had like a cheat sheet, let's say like a little cheat sheet of something that you would share with someone that is multi-talented like yourself, but maybe, kind of having a difficult time kind of focusing on which way to go with what's really calling them at that moment.
Hmm.
What types of things would you share with that person that's listening tonight?
Um, I would tell them, kind of sit down, really write down all those ideas.
Hmm.
Then you figure out what's most important. What's important to you right now? And as far as being able to achieve it. So you got your short-term goals, and then you got your long-term goals. And it's kind of almost like use the analogy of, you take just imagine like playing hopscotch.
Hmm.
So, you know, You take that first step, one, two, three, and then four, five, how it breaks out and all that. So you got to take one step at a time. Take them
Mhm.
first, that first step as far as writing down what's most important to you, all the things that you want to accomplish, and then to be accomplished, start with the smallest one. It's kind
Mhm.
of almost like that snowball effect.
Mhm.
What can I accomplish first and get it completed?
Mhm.
That way you feel accomplished
Mhm.
instead of being, I know at one point I was like, am I just a procrastinator or what? I'm like, I start stuff and don't finish it.
Yeah.
Then, and then also not being afraid to ask for help. Um, you it's plenty of resources out there. If for mentors needed or somebody doing the things uh that you're wanting to do,
Yeah.
ask the question. I'm
Yep.
the type person that just like now with even writing a book, getting one published or anything of that nature, I'll freely give out that information. But some people will, in which I've experienced, uh, will kind of give you this long list of to do list
Mhm.
that you can never complete really.
Right.
I'm coming to the person asking, hey, since you're so accomplished with it, I figured you knew some easier ways to do things, which they do. They just didn't want to share it.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. So, and which is
Mhm.
it's understandable. I completely get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not going to do someone like that. So, and
Right.
that's just me. Um, but yeah, I mean, if it like I said, just that starting point and just getting started. A lot of times, because if you have so many ideas in your head, write them all down. Then
Yeah.
you'll figure out, hmm, no, this one is doable. This one is not, or this is kind of long term. I can, this is one I can complete within a certain period of time. Like I said, it just kind of gets the ball rolling instead
Yeah.
of you getting to a point of because if you're trying to accomplish that big goal, you might get stopped along the way and stalled, and then you get discouraged, and then you just stop altogether. Like I'm done with it. Yeah, I got all these great ideas, but I'll just leave it right there. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I know exactly that feeling.
yeah.
So here's the last question for you,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Duncan. What is one word that affirms who you are?
Intentional. I think that's how you get to achieve so much more by being intentional, whether it's intentional in your job. So you think about it this way. If I'm intentional about my happiness, I'm intentional about my peace, who's going to stop me?
Hmm.
I'm, we always, you think about the word intentional. Oh, I didn't, I didn't mean that intentionally. So it had a negative
Hmm.
connotation to it
Right.
majority of the time.
Right.
But no, I'm intentional about me. If I'm intentional about me, I can easily be intentional about somebody else.
Yes, that's right.
Um, I can be all of the things if I'm intentional. I
Hmm.
can achieve so much if I'm intentional. Whether it's working out, whether it's stopping a bad habit, whether it's whatever. Uh, I'm intentional about family. I'm intentional about this. If you're intentional, nobody can stop you.
That's right.
Nobody stops you but you. So yeah, hey, that's my word, and I'm sticking to
Hey, I think it fits. I think it fits. Mr. Tim Duncan, thank you so very much for joining us tonight. I know that a lot of people were able to grasp a lot of knowledge and nuggets from what you've shared. So thank you again for spending some time and just sharing your background and everything that you're doing. If individuals wanted to follow or connect with you, how can they do so?
Well, email, first of all. Well, that's just one of the options, but it's Duncan, DUNCAN TAD 0495 at gmail.com. Also, I'm on Instagram at I am Tim Duncan. And also, I'm on TikTok. It's I am dot Tim Duncan.
Mm.
So, and on TikTok, you look up I am Tim Duncan, you'll see, I think I'm the one with, I got to think maybe about 40,000 followers or something like that. And then the one on Instagram, I think about it, I think I have maybe 15,000. So, looking to increase all of that. Uh, so yeah, just reach out and I'll be happy to talk pretty much about anything. Hey, I'm wide open. I'm an open book, so we're good.
And I know that you mentioned having your books coming out sometime soon. We'll have to have you back so that we can
Yes.
talk more a little bit about that, and we'll have you back for that for sure. I'm
Hey,
looking
I
forward to it. I
appreciate it.
know people who are listening tonight are looking forward to it as well.
Yeah,
What's one thing that you're grateful for today?
getting up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Then also, I'm grateful for a smile.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I would say today I'm grateful, yeah, to be amongst the living. That's it. That's what I'm going with.
Yes. 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 Yes.
I'm going
Yes.
with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going with that.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining tonight. Make sure that you go to my website, go to YouTube, subscribe to this page. You can watch this episode and previous episodes there, and make sure you check out all my other social media outlets. And come back again next week. We're going to have another amazing topic, another amazing guest. I hope you all have a great evening. Have a great weekend.